Hey you guys, tonight we're going to talk about a transition of power. Transition has been a long part of the presidential process. When one person gets elected and replaces another for office, there's protocol which provides a smooth passing of the baton. The 2020 presidential race took place during a worldwide pandemic, a sinking economy, and racial tension. Furthermore, past experiences prove that a transfer of power from one political party to the next can be just a little bit cumbersome and have a few bumps in the road. A recent election and presidential transition faced very unique circumstances. Historically, there have been other elections and transition periods that have faced unique circumstances as well. Abraham Lincoln took office in the middle of the southern states seceding from the Union. Franklin D. Roosevelt took office during the Great Depression. Jimmy Carter was not reelected in 1980, but he worked diligently to have hostages freed before stepping out of office. Typical transitions usually last about 11 weeks. This may seem lengthy to modern American people, but in the 1800s, information and people moved at a much slower pace. And so the election would take place in November, and then the elected candidate would take over the March of the next year. So that grace period allowed for movement. In 1933, the 20th Amendment was ratified. The amendment eliminated the lame duck period where a sitting president had weakened political power. The few months between November and January 20th gives our Electoral College the opportunity to declare a clear winner of the Commander-in-Chief position. Once a winner is named, the transition period begins. Millions of dollars are set aside to fund the transition team. The budget pays salaries, office rental space, and more. The Presidential Transition Act requires the outgoing president to update the incoming president on national security, social and economic issues, and military operations. Customarily, the outgoing president and spouse invites the new incoming president and spouse over to the White House, and they kind of have a question and answer time, a tour of the White House, and all that takes place. In 2000, the election race was too close to call. On November 7th, there was not a clear winner. Americans positioned themselves near their televisions. The battle between Al Gore and George W. Bush was one for the ages. The Supreme Court actually had to settle who was the president. There were 537 votes that determined the president. Imagine, only 537 votes. And there was a lot of just stuff that happened with that because they were waiting for Florida, and there's a whole thing about that because Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida, and so there's a lot that does go along with that. But in 2016, there were intense conversations between Republican and Democrats as the nation watched the election unfold. Hillary Clinton was the Democrat nominee. Donald Trump was a Republican nominee. Either candidate was going to make history. If Hillary Rodham Clinton had won, she would be the first female president. And then you have Donald Trump, who actually wasn't even a seasoned politician. So either would make history. President Barack Obama invited President-elect Donald Trump to the White House to begin the transition after GSA declared Donald Trump as the apparent winner of the 2016 election. Obama is reported as claiming the Bush administration handled themselves with class as they approached the transfer of power. He wanted to follow suit and show the same professionalism. The 2020 election and transition proved to be significant and unique. Recounts were demanded in Georgia by President Trump. He claimed election fraud had occurred and blamed Georgia's Secretary of State, who took a verbal assault by Trump in a public way. On January 6, 2021, a letter was addressed to Congress by the Secretary of State regarding the vote count, rumors, and the audit. So according to the letter, an audit and recount took place and declared Joseph Biden Jr. as the winner of Georgia. In the letter, he also stated facts. He told us that Fox News and Newsmax have reported false information about Georgia's ballots and machines. But later, both news outlets retracted and apologized for false reports. Until the letter was addressed to Congress refuting election fraud and misconduct, President Trump and his legal team were actually planning to sue the Secretary of State of Georgia. The point-by-point letter settled several answers to questions asked by Trump. His legal team then dropped the lawsuit. While all of this was happening, the transition period was becoming shorter and shorter. The Biden team was at work behind the scenes waiting for General Services Administration to declare Biden as the president-elect. On November 23rd, the Biden-Harris combination was declared. Biden and Harris made history. He's the oldest president and she's the first female vice president. Interestingly enough, transition funds were made available to Joe Biden even though the incumbent had not conceded. All of these circumstances make the transition period unique and strange. But wait, there's more. Pro-Trump protesters stormed the U.S. Capitol as votes were being counted on January 6, 2021. Many believed the rumors they had heard. Conspiracy theories were spread through social media outlets. The entire world watched as America starred in her own dumpster fire event. It was not the United States' finest moment, according to analysts, and there was loss of life, and people were frightened. Vice President Mike Pence seemed to be thrown under the bus by his fearless leader, and in February, people were actually charged with crimes. Privately owned social media companies blocked or disengaged with Trump in his accounts. Some said this violated his First Amendment. The social media owners said it was because of the riots at the Capitol. On Inauguration Day, something was different. During the speeches and the swearing in, there was one person missing. Incumbent Donald Trump did not attend. His family was absent. And some reports state Trump's wife, Melania, found out she was not attending through social media posts. Change is difficult. Transitions are as well. Conspiracy theorists claim America has not seen the last of the former president, but only time will tell.